Okay, good evening, everybody. I'd like to welcome everybody to our April 4, 2022 meeting. Tonight we have kind of a long meeting, so we have a couple presentations, and if there's anybody in the public who would like to offer any comments, I would ask that they do not, just so that we can devote all of our time to our process and our presenters. So see, the first thing on the agenda would be to approve our agenda for tonight.
Hey, Danu.
Yes.
Sorry, did you say that if anyone in the public is here to make a comment, they can't make a comment?
Well, actually, they can under public comments not on the agenda. Thanks for clarifying that, Chris. But if it's something that has to do with our presentation or anything else that's on our agenda, other than the public comments not on the agenda, I would ask that they refrain from doing so.
Okay, because I have a resident sitting next to me who would like to make a comment about something that's not on the agenda, and it will be brief.
Okay, all right, well then when we get to item number 4 under public comments not on the agenda, then she can do so.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for having me clarify that.
Hey, Danu,
So,
real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
How does that play in when we get to the part where OSAC will need to discuss too?
Oh, you're included in the discussion.
Oh, okay, cool. Thanks.
Yeah, sorry about that. Because Shannon, I don't really consider you being part of the public. I consider you being as a representative of OSAC.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. So Jan approved the agenda. Do I get a second on the approval of the agenda?
I second.
Great, Rebecca Wood seconds. Approval of the March 7 regular meeting minutes.
Well, that was me, Danu. Sorry, that was me, Danielle Raggi.
Oh, sorry, Danielle, sorry.
No worries.
Okay, what about approval of minutes?
I'll move to approve.
Great, Rebecca moves to approve. Do I get a second on that?
I wasn't here, so I can't do it.
Okay, Jan abstains. Well, I'll move to second the minutes then. And I'm assuming if I don't hear anybody opposed to them, that everyone approves. So does anybody oppose the agenda or the minutes? Okay, then the agenda and minutes stand approved then. We'll move on to item number 4, public comments not on the agenda. Is there somebody from the public who'd like to make a comment or express something? Please introduce yourself.
Okay. Hello, I'm Cheyenne Grow. Do I need to give my address?
Sure.
Okay, I live at 108 Lafayette Road in Manitou Springs. And I guess I wanted to share an observation and ask a question. I remember back in 2019, there was like an ordinance about open carry in the Manitou parks.
Oh.
And as we were walking on Sunday, I came across who I assume is a contractor for the city, the woman doing gardening on the sign for the Memorial Park on the east side of the park.
It was Mary Ellen was doing gardening.
And Mary Ellen had some employees, and one of them was obviously open carrying while he was like doing gardening work on the park property. So, and then I actually looked at the ordinance and saw that open carry is only prohibited where marked. So I was just wondering, is there a plan to mark any of the parks, or is that a thing or no? So that's really it. So thank you.
Thank you, Cheyenne. We actually had another past member of PARAB who brought that same issue up. And I believe that Nancy Fortune, who was our council liaison at that time, was going to check into it with our city attorney and to see what kind of laws were in place around open carry, and to see if we could maybe prohibit open arm carry firearms within the parks because of the safety for our kids and
Right.
parents, et cetera. So
Can I make a clarifying statement? So
absolutely.
the ordinance as amended in 2019 restates that open carry is prohibited in City Hall, the pool, somewhere else, I don't remember. And then it says where posted in city parks and open space.
Oh,
So
okay,
the ordinance reads that if it's posted, it's prohibited.
okay.
So it sounds like it's an ordinance that was written so it wouldn't have to be implemented, or, or I don't know what, I'm not gonna assume what happened in 2019, but the ordinance states that open carry is prohibited where posted.
Well,
So
it
I'm
sounds
just
like,
curious, where or if that gets posted.
well,
So-
I would say that we would just have to make signs
Mhm.
and post them. It
Cool.
would be probably that easy to do so.
Great.
Maybe if we're gonna have more signs in our parks together, we could like get rid of some of the existing signs so that we don't have so much sign clutter in our town. And
Because
really,
there are, in a number of parks, there's signs that list the ordinance number and stuff. So
Ah.
it's like those signs could be replaced with the updated ordinances. 'Cause
well,
there
that's a
might be
good
some
point.
other
That's-
outdated info as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's
Okay.
I think we can
Thanks.
also, oh, sorry.
Cool.
I think we can
Go ahead.
also consolidate a lot of signs into one, consistent park signage for all of our parks. So there's a lot of little ones with, things like that for the ordinance. There's like a no smoking one and a dog poop one. And now we'll have a open carry one. So maybe we just need to consolidate and have some uniformity for all of our park signs.
Could we maybe do like just a simple, small little sign with like a firearm with a red circle with a cross through it, instead of having all this language, that we could more move toward logos or something, so that we don't have, so people can see that and they don't have to read through all the ordinances. They can just clearly see no firearms allowed. Something like that is something that I would like to advocate for.
Yeah, something that I was suggesting is like one sign with, the picture of the firearm with the cross out, the picture of the cigarette crossed out.
Maybe a
know-
pile of dog poop too, crossed out. That would be
Yeah.
good.
With a little, squiggly, so it smells, coming above it. Yeah.
Yeah.
How
No,
about- How about
in
I take a
favor.
stab at it and bring it back to Parab next month? Does that
Okay,
sound good?
great. Yeah, sounds
Okay.
great, Skylar. Okay, does that sound good to everybody? Okay,
So question, Skylar, since we're talking signage, over at the skate park, over at Fields, several times now, I've observed skateboarders skateboarding on the tennis pickleball courts. And I politely asked them to move, and there is a sign for it, but it's way up above the chain link door. So I don't know if there's a better place to post it. And they, of course, insist that their skateboard wheels are very smooth. So I said, I understand, but as a courtesy, so far there hasn't been a real bad issue, but it hasn't been the nicest experience. So I don't know what the solution is. I imagine it's always going to happen, but if the sign was certainly more, I don't know.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
Yeah, I can look at moving that sign. We're also renovating those courts next month, and there will be more fencing within that area. Right now, it's just one big open area. We're going to have a big fence going through the tennis and the pickleball side, as well as a small fence separating two pickleball courts. So they're not going to have as big of an area to play around. I'm hoping that'll kind of help that problem.
That'll take care of their game that they play, but they'll find something else, I doubt, that will take care of it. But that, it's ingenuity. But yeah, I'm concerned about the surface.
okay, great. Anybody else? Okay, if not, let's move on to our presentation. Our first guest is Dave Dixon from Cushing Terrell. And he's going to present a PowerPoint on the capital improvement plan for mostly for our purview, parks and pool.
All right, thanks everyone. Good evening. I can do this right here. You should see a cover slide here, hopefully. And I'll switch to full screen. Anybody have any idea what year this picture was taken? Any guesses?
I'd say it was old because of the quality of the picture.
It starts with 19, but just barely. I love this one because it's got, you can already kind of see how much has been kept and how much has been replaced, but it looks like some small Alpine village. Just beautiful, beautiful picture. But it's 1902. So just
Wow.
after the turn of the century. See if you can recognize some of these.
Yeah, where's Hiawatha Gardens?
Yeah, let's see. That's gonna
Or
be.
maybe that's the Cliff House or the Barker House down there in the lower right-hand corner. Is that the Barker House or is that the Cliff House? That might be the Cliff House.
No, that was built. Yeah, maybe.
I think it's the Cliff House.
Yeah, right
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Yeah. So cool. You live in a beautiful community, that's for sure. But thanks. Thanks for having me. See if I could figure out how to change this. Let's see. Advanced slide. Oh, how do I do that? Oh, geez, sorry. I'll just have to go back to this for now. Thanks. I'm Dave. I'm from Cushing Terrell, senior planner out of Denver. Me and my team are helping you out put this thing together quite a long time ago, and we're just at the point where we're wrapping it up. But it's been a great, interesting process. So what I think we'll do tonight, I'll do a quick recap. So I think I see some new faces, and I think I see some familiar faces. We've been to pair up a couple of times throughout the process, but it's been a long time, and we've done some things to adjust and make sure that this thing is a useful document for you all. So and then I think what we'll do is what we'd really like to get out of this is just to go kind of park by park and show you what the process ultimately came up with, and see what your thoughts are for what that says as we wrap this whole thing up. So we went through this long assessment. We assessed all. It's not just for parks, but it's for all the necessary buildings that were in our scope as far as city-owned, publicly owned buildings. But the focus was parks, and there's a lot more parks we looked at and assessed than the buildings themselves at this point. Even though we did scan everything as part of the scope, and we want to have a comparative way of looking at projects between all your facilities that are important, and particularly between your parks, of course. So we did that back years or so ago, and we've sent our civil engineers, we sent our planning team, and our landscape team, architecture team, and our mechanical engineers, and all those folks went down there and went on site, looked at all the buildings themselves and all the parks themselves. Civil engineers went through and looked at the ramps, slopes, kind of the ADA particularly accessible piece, did a full-on assessment. In some places we dug a little deeper than others, but came up with a pretty comprehensive look at what your needs were. So needs and deficiencies is a term that's commonly used in these capital improvements planning exercises, which means what do you need to maintain the functionality of this facility. And so we came up with a big list of those, and then those ultimately are projects that you can do to help with those deficiencies and help get that facility functioning, or help get that facility functioning in a way that you'd rather have it function. We'll bring up some examples of those. And then, as I mentioned, you can compare facility conditions with a term that we call facilities condition index. We can go over that here in a second. And really what it does is this, as we hope, is going to give you a roadmap for looking at all the projects that are out there that you can do per park, in this case, and look at that that list of things, that menu list, and see, okay, how do we do one park a year and knock out as much as we can? What makes the most sense? And so I think with tonight, it'd be great to just, we've got it set up so just go through a little bit more of these and just go park by park so we can just talk about them. And then Skylar can jump in with anything else as we get through this, so we as I said, we can wrap this up. But anything else, Skylar, as far as intro?
Nope, I think you covered it good.
Go ahead and yeah, and I'll just kind of keep going and go ahead and stop and ask questions as needed. I've got a number of documents I can pull up to refer to as we go through. So, but this is just going to be the summary, the kind of the big high level stuff that, and also the kind of moves we're trying to make to finish this thing out. So, as we started though, when we first visited with Parab, we first visited with OSAC and everybody else. You know, we talked with department heads, we talked with your staff that maintains the parks, and we got kind of a bunch of different levels of thinking about how, you know, what's wrong, what do we need to do here, and then we had our professionals come in and do their own assessment, and then we have to kind of synthesize all that together. But from your city leadership, you know, our three main points of focus was sustainability. You know, how do we go forward in the future where less water is used, where you know, our decisions made for projects are leading to a future where even if it's an upfront investment, the long-term sustainability enhancements are worth it, and that goes for, you know, operating, maintaining, and the equipment itself in the parks, and then accessibility. Obviously, you know, there's just some things that you got to live with being there in Manitou Springs. It's a beautiful city, but you know, there's topography that makes it beautiful, but also makes it difficult to get to things. So we understand that, but we you know, want to look at this in a way that ADA projects are a big part of it, in the ways that you can manage that with your budget and with your staff. And then aging infrastructure, just as a form of kind of priority and condition assessing. What's the oldest that we can, you know, generally the oldest stuff is the one that needs to be replaced first, not rocket science. And that ends up being fairly true here as we look at some of these things like, you know, playground equipment, parks, restrooms. We kind of pulled out as a different separate thing, as we were kind of guided to do that, because those are different, like almost a different type of project. It's kind of interesting having the restroom. Is it a building or is it a park? Ultimately, we kind of just pulled that out as their own thing. So just keeping those three tenets in mind, that's when we spoke with everybody and we talked with everybody, that's what we kind of went into, or used as some of our guidance going into it. I'll zoom in here a little bit. This is our, you know, we started off with a lot of different things. This is kind of the full list, the full map of things that we scanned. And as we went through the process, we prioritized and recognized a couple of things that came out as higher priorities, and ultimately the list of buildings that are summarized in the report we're kind of talking about here, are these three. And then the parks and recreation sites, they were always kind of the same. We took a look at also the water plant, the plant itself, for, you know, its own deficiencies from a building function standpoint, not necessarily as a water system standpoint, because you have that capital plan on its own. So I'll just go through a couple of the initial findings. We've presented this to a number of groups, including Parab back in the past, and City Council and other folks. But you know, it's just kind of interesting, maybe thinking about some of the building stuff. You know, obviously water flow, water moisture. For some places, all the restrooms have all have basically the same amount of dimensional requirement problems that you would see from an accessibility standpoint, getting a wheelchair in there, getting clearance for door swings and all that kind of stuff. So they're all just kind of have that same issue, which you probably all are aware of. Elevators in some buildings, you know, all these things. We just want to make sure we point out everything here, so you have that list. In the full report, that this summary I'm giving you has a ton more information, but it's 200 plus pages. What we're trying to do now is get this into a digestible piece that you can pick up, turn to a page, turn to a park, and say, okay, here's all the things that came out of this, and not have to sift through 200 pages of technical stuff. Obviously, some energy usage with your equipment in buildings. Here's one that's came out big on the parks. Is you have your post plan, you have your parks open space trails plan as a guiding document for really kind of high level stuff, but it's time that you do a individual master planning exercise for some of your most used or biggest parks. And there's a kind of a sequence of events that we're getting to the point in these recommendations that we think, you know, you all think actually you should do first. You should do this one first, this one next, and that one next. Soda Springs already has it, and they're underway with their, as you know. So that's that's sort of a separate thing, but for those big parks, let's do master plan for in a similar way. Soda Springs has been done. There's a couple of best practices here and there throughout the document based on National Recreation and Parks Association. I think that's the acronym, NRPA. And then playgrounds is just as a finding. You've been making progress on adding accessible swings. There's a couple things you can do to get those routes to those swings improved, and that's projects that you'll see in some of these. And then the fall surfaces, the area that you would have underneath the equipment, get that to compliance in a certain order with the ADA compliant port in place or some other kind of thing. But there's a method to doing that, to replacing those surfaces. And then timing the playground updates, which last time we were speaking at Para, there was a kind of a consensus that the playgrounds could be, when it's time to do the upgrades, could be more reflective of the sustainability practices of other things in the city there, have recyclable materials, those kinds of things. So we factored all those things in, did the inventory. So looked at some of the, what's the baseline inventory? What type of park is it based on national classification? What are the facilities that are there? What kind of parking does it have as part of, how well is the park being used? And a number of other things that back these things up to get to a sort of a sense of what condition is it in, obviously, right? And this is where we get into the FCI, which is called Facilities Conditions Index. So that's a way that you compare the physical replacements with, the cost of the projects that we identified with the replacement value of completely replacing that park, which is tough with parks, easier with buildings. But we developed a method to do that. What would it take to scrape it clean and do it as it is right now, based on compared to the cost of the projects that you got to do to get it functioning in a way that is meaningful and safe and everything else. So that's what this column is here. Score, a higher score is one where you want to look at that one a little bit more closely. A lower score means there's not a whole lot of replacement costs, or sorry, forgive me, keep getting my words confused, but there's not a whole lot of project costs compared to the value. So you can kind of see where the lower scores are compared to the higher scores. Part of that is because some parks are bigger, some parks are smaller, some parks have been upgraded recently, or some of them are in pretty good working condition, just need a couple immediate improvements. Some of them are just in good condition. And so we have this description of that, good being fairly new equipment, fairly new design. Design's a big part of it, they're well maintained with minor defects. As wear and tear, obviously maybe paint's chipping, but it's acceptably functioning as far as equipment standpoint and a safety standpoint. They're fully functional, but might have a little bit of sun fade or something. Fair is you're starting to see damage, starting to affect the functionality of that facility. So you need to do some improvements or replacements pretty quick to get that thing up to that good condition. And then pours, you need to do something pretty quick. Major repairs are required. So that's in general, I think, based on the kind of synthesis of all the things we hear, all the things we looked at that our experts have, the people who look at these things every day saw. I think fair to good is pretty reflective of the parks as far as an asset. We know that there's things to do, that there's things to do. So this plan is just going to kind of look at some of those. And then, like I said, use that to see which one you do first, and generally hit one park every year and set up a plan that helps you do that. So I think what we do now is we'll go through each park, and we'll kind of show you what some of the steps forward are as far as projects plus a flow of action and implementation. And then you just tell us what you think. Tell us what you think. What you think the projects are. If there's anything that was missed, or that you think has emerged or surfaced that you hear from your folks, and as community members yourself when you go to those parks. I'm sure you all been to everyone. So if that's okay, I think we'll go through and I'll take notes and we'll talk about what each park says to us. Starting with just an alphabetical order. So Bill Bowers. Moving forward, there's a couple of just based on accessibility standards, a couple of things that you could do. One of them is completing the perimeter sidewalk with proper ramping and ADA access. I will say also that you've done a full-on ADA accessibility audit for all of your city facilities a couple years ago, which we relied on pretty strongly to make some of these. So these are already established projects, but I think when you look at this, when it says, you know, do a whole sidewalk, it's not something that's like, do it today because you're not going to meet some kind of requirement. It's more when you're doing other repairs or when you're doing other things, this is an opportunity to get to that standard, and just this is what it would take to get to that standard of accessibility. So just I want to make sure that that's clear. It's not a you must do tomorrow or else. It's just a project list. There's accessible parking spot opportunities as well. If you do a project like that, you have an accessible swing there. So there's a way that you could do ramp improvements identified in that ADA audit and get a surface to that swing that's a wheelchair accessible for folks who want to use that. There's certainly plenty of projects out there, examples of that. As we mentioned, there's a fall surface replacement opportunity. Again, maybe not tomorrow, but there's an opportunity to do that. And then we heard from Parab and others that this is a great park for accessibility. You've already got things going on there, so maybe this could be the one that could be really the most accessible park and playground in your community. So let's think of a picnic area that is fully accessible, perhaps where the existing picnic table is, and a shelter as well. So and that picnic table could be compliant. Opportunities for sustainability. Sustainable futures, do irrigation water metering study. That is really kind of a citywide recommendation for all of your parks. There's tons of professionals out there, in your community in Colorado Springs area and beyond that do these studies. They cost a certain amount of money, but they basically check the condition of all your sprinklers. Are they performing well? How much water are they using? And then recommend exactly how you can make that water usage decrease. And then eventually replacing equipment or using picnic tables or playground equipment that's recyclable and not is deconstructible is a term that we use sometimes whenever it comes time to replace that playground. So that's kind of the thoughts. I do want to point out that projects are based on the functionality and not really about kind of a something that the post plan might cover, like you're just talking about signage. That's something that the post plan would probably be more responsible for as far as projects. This is kind of just what does it take to make the day-to-day functionality of this place better, and then long term, what's it going to take to get the equipment that we need to make this place stay functional. So I'll turn it over to the board. I'll take notes so we can move on.
This is me speaking. I about the sidewalk. That is that pretty level? It seems to me it's kind of on a hill.
There's a bit of slope. Yeah.
So it's kind of like, to me, it seems kind of ridiculous to try to make that a ADA accessible sidewalk. Are you talking about like from the corner on down? I mean, like, it's not very safe to. Well, I mean, people do it, I'm sure, but it's not ADA compliant with the what 1 inch per every 1 foot that ADA is supposed to be for slope is. So, I mean, I guess my point is that how reasonable or feasible is it to make the sidewalk ADA compliant when the slope does not conform?
Yeah, and looking at this particular, it's a neighborhood. Really, you look at this, and if there's connectivity, trying to think about this objectively as a place that people would walk to from all directions, right? Sure, that's just kind of a, you just want a sidewalk there just to make that simpler. But this is the kind of feedback I think that we're looking for exactly. So if you know, maybe not ADA compliant with 1%, but more of a, you know, is this getting people to the park from all sides? Yeah, I appreciate the comment. Yeah, Jan, is it Jan?
Mhm. Yeah.
Just following up on that, what struck me is to get the ADA parking area and have it connect to the possibly Z-angled sidewalk down to the swing, the ADA swing. But the rest of it, I think the neighborhood is pretty used to traveling on the road. And I think, I agree with Danu. I think because of the slope, getting the ADA access for a car and then a wheelchair to access down to, rather than tumbling on down on the grass. But that's even going to be, the traverse on that is going to be a little difficult too. So I don't know if there's a different angle to check it with, but otherwise, like Danu was saying, if you're going to have a nice little zoom takeoff ramp called a sidewalk, that's fine, but pretty good slope on there.
Yeah, and that's, you know, it's what we're thinking. I can't remember. We checked the kind of sidewalk and street standards of design, and it's about getting people off the road, right? Because there's no street parking on this side of the street, if I'm not mistaken. So, you know, you look at it, you got kids and people rolling up to this. You don't want them on the street, but I totally understand what you're saying. You want the accessible pieces to be accessible where they need to be, right? Okay.
Yeah, but actually, Dave, there is parking on that street. I mean, I've parked on there before.
Is there parallel parking here?
Yes.
Sorry, I just thought I've been mistaken, but yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah, because
Either way.
I've parked there before and other people parked there.
Gotcha. Okay.
So it is a neighborhood
But
residential
it's
street.
a residential street, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good feedback.
I'd like to make I think maybe broader comment. If I understand this correctly, this whole process is designed to give us tools to use to target maybe parks that are in most need of attention. Is that right? Rather than necessarily identifying a specific function for a park, although that is a helpful suggestion. Do I get that correct?
I think that's fair to say. Yeah.
I think from that standpoint, this is a very, very helpful exercise. And, you know, living over on the west side of town and having a closer familiarity with Maple Willie, you know, comparing that to Bill Bowers, you know, I agree. Those are definitely things that have lacked for attention, with exception of a few specific things, but not a overall or maybe holistic approach to the entire park. Anyway, like I said, I think this is a useful tool and is something that we could use to generate discussion in terms of prioritizing resources.
Yeah, thanks, Tim. I think that's exactly it. Is, you know, each one of your parks has a little different flavor based on where it is in the community and who uses it. And so I think the best thing that can come out of this is exactly what you're saying. How do we help these parks identify and work the best based on what they're doing well now, right? And you kind of do that already, you know, Skylar and his team, everybody does that already. It's just a matter of what do you need out of a document that you could take to help get grant funding to do that. And I think it's a great opportunity for you as a board to help, you know, think about which park is going to be your friendliest park to kids or whatnot. Which park do you want to have events at, that kind of thing. Ultimately, that coming out of this, you're going to want to do a big community kind of process where you know, the recommendations might be such, you know, maybe, you know, Fields Park becomes more an events park, and this becomes more an accessible park. But that's kind of the idea. Yeah, I think you got it just right too. So. Okay. Okay, good comments so far. And we click it to the next one. Is that all right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. All right, Mabel Willie. So again, these are when our engineers look at what's going on, and we didn't do full on measuring tape, and we brought the slope indicator and everything, but basically just kind of looking at this and saying, okay, what do we need that you're kind of missing? And this is an interesting one because that frontage there, the recommendation or a good project to do might be sidewalk curb gutter, not just because you just have kind of a rolled up asphalt curb there right now, but because it's helpful for drainage and other things. This is kind of that's where it drops off. Water seems like it likes to go through here. So from a drainage standpoint, there's improvements that you can make that while you're doing that improvement, think about get the drainage engineer to take a look at it too. Same with the playground, same kind of story. A lot of these will have the same story. Otherwise, it's functioning the way that it should. Some of the equipment's fairly old, so when it comes time to replace it, think about those natural materials and deconstruction. But if you go in and do the fall surface replacement, this is a big area. So I think when you go in and you look at this, you look at, okay, maybe we want to do part of the playground. Maybe you think about redesigning the playground entirely so that you don't have to have all the fall surface everywhere spread out on the thing, consolidated to one side, that kind of stuff. But really, I think the things to think about are that curb and gutter and the fencing as well. As far as the fencing, from national standards standpoint, it could be replaced, but it still works, right?
No, it's historical.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
It's
no,
historical.
that
It's
won't
true.
go over so good, Dave.
Yeah,
It's a historic fence.
that's totally fine.
Yeah.
That's good comment, but I'll make sure I get that down. What would you say as far as the playground replacement? Those of you who live in the area or everything, I mean, what are your thoughts on how that's going? It's got some of my favorite playground features, but I understand how people are thinking about it. Yeah, Rebecca, do you have a comment?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that this would be maybe one of for me, a top priority, because it really could just use a whole overhaul for many of the components. I mean, the wheel is great, but I also, it brings back memories, but it's also a bit dangerous, eh? But yeah, it's for me, a lot of times kids will use it minimally, and it's often used for like a dog run, so I think this could be a major overhaul.
So we recognize that too, that almost every time we went there, I think we saw dogs. People use it kind of as a de facto dog park. Is that kind of true?
Which is, it's fine.
Right.
And people use it really respectfully and pick up
Yeah.
after themselves, but I just think it could use a lot of TLC.
Yep. Okay. And ultimately, that'd be great to come out of tonight with that just some thoughts about your prioritization of which park might be the most important. So to address first. Okay.
I love that merry-go-round, Rebecca. I'll fight for my life. I'll fight for my life to keep that.
I do too, and so does my son, but also.
Yeah.
I also, I'm with that. I love that thing too.
Tough one. Yeah. Okay, and we can come back to any of these as you get thoughts on them too. But
no, I think you're doing. Yeah, I think you're doing good, Dave. Keep rolling on.
Thank you. All right.
Although maybe we could make the swing set more dangerous to better complement the merry-go-round.
Yeah, that's a good. That's a good idea, Tim.
You have a nice launching round, right?
Yeah.
Fly off. It's good. But I will say the softball there is just, I really don't like that.
No, it's terrible. But we can call Mabel Willie can be our throwback park.
Nice, old school. Like
right. It is.
Yeah.
It could be a tourist attraction. It's the only one left of its kind. You could also, the fall surface just needs to be replaced, right? So if there's an interim solution there as well.
Yeah. Well, no, you did make the comment. As we all know, a lot of people do bring their dogs there.
Yeah,
So that fall surface actually works good for dog excrement.
right.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah.
But down the road for sure, we can
Right.
revisit that. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, Mansions Park. So part of this one, we look at the identity of each one. You've got off-street parking, but technically, it's hard to say that those 16 spaces are used for the park only, of course. But this one is an interesting one. The Event Pavilion. We did it. We also did a scan of those as well, with the exception of the Soda Springs one because it was already part of your master planning. But generally, again, looking at that facilities condition, it's in generally good condition. We noted a couple of repairs. Those repairs have even been made, enough for the fountain, I believe, for example. And for the purpose that this park serves, it's doing its job fairly well. Maybe there's a couple. We had a couple little spots of where maybe a ramp could be made a little bit more compliant based on what your audit already says. So we put a couple of those forward, but generally it's kind of doing its job. So it would benefit from a master plan between itself, Memorial Park, and 7 Minute Springs Park and Gazebo. I think that's a master plan for the parks just right there in itself. Even Memorial probably needs a full-on master plan process, but with community engagement and all those things that you get a high level in the post plan, but let's drill down into it based on some of the things that we've noted in this report. So, but it'd be great. I think one of the recommendations is to go ahead and do that community planning process with those 3 parks since they're kind of in the core. Look at things like parking, look at things like transit access, and do all those things that you need to do in that master plan. But as it sits, just a couple little accessibility things that we pointed out.
Just for an update too, Dave, Skylar's already got somebody doing up some plans to make that bathroom be ADA accessible,
Right.
at least the new portion. And I think Parab did identify that playground as one of our playgrounds to make ADA compliant.
Oh, right. Yeah, we'll get to that one here, I think, in a second. Yeah, this one. So this one right here across the street.
No, Danu was talking about Fields Park, I think.
Fields
Oh,
Park.
sorry. Gotcha.
We're not there yet.
Yeah. No, that is. Yeah, it's like I said, all the bathrooms, restrooms need that. This one, we kind of tied the city hall restrooms with this one because that's kind of how they're used, right? When people are at the park, they go to the city hall. So that one is acknowledged as an important project. Really, this one would probably have. We'll see it ultimately, but the city hall restrooms would be the ones that you'd probably prioritize the highest as far as the next couple of years of getting that thing done.
Oh, sorry, I thought we were on Fields. I see we're only on Memorial.
Yes, actually.
Mentions, Memorial, okay.
Mentions in Memorial, basically. Yeah, next one's Memorial, but any other thoughts on this one? So, I mean, it's pretty good shape. So we didn't hear anything that was really desperately desired, except for maybe parking, but because parking's tough there, but it's kind of something you have to deal with it as a whole thing. Yes, Jan. Jan, sorry, you're on mute.
Any thoughts about the shuffleboard courts?
Yeah, I'd love to figure out a way to make equipment available for the shuffleboard courts.
That's been the conundrum, is to try to figure out how we can safely house and release the shuffleboard tool.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Skylar, you were talking about some, or maybe it was Roy that was talking to me about some kind of lockers where you put in a credit card and it keeps a deposit until you return the equipment. Is that going anywhere? Or has there been any more thought about that? I agree that it's super cool that we have shuffleboard courts.
Yeah, no, I haven't found anything able to do that. One thought I've been having as we're expanding our recreation programming stuff is to have like a shuffleboard day once a month or something, and just invite all the community to come out and play shuffleboard. And my staff would manage that and make the equipment available and just kind of make it a drop-in kind of thing. But nothing, I can't think of anything where people can check it out and use it. I just don't know if there is such a thing right now for something that big.
Okay.
So question, there's discussion with the Hiawatha Gardens for having bike lockers. Could something like a bike locker be repurposed for shuffleboard gear and they check it out by having a credit card and then put it back? It's just, I have no idea, it just was something that occurred.
I'll see what I can find out. I don't know what they're doing at Hiawatha, but I'll dig into that a little bit and see if that goes anywhere.
Dole can help.
Okay.
Okay, let's continue on. Memorial Park. So as I mentioned, master planning for Memorial Park is probably warranted at this point. And this basically just kind of want to lay the groundwork for you all to go ahead and do that. So, but the immediate findings are, have that route to the accessible swing. Again, replace the fall surface, 475 square yards or thereabouts. And then there's a couple other just little pieces, just to be as comprehensive as we could. A couple of pieces, since this is in the the very urban area of where people would be walking on all sides with cars zipping around everywhere. A couple spots where you might want to look at replacing those sidewalks or connecting those sidewalks. There's, and then also again with the metered irrigation and improving irrigation and water usage would be. This one would be particularly useful because the staff definitely noted some drainage and irrigation sort of wet spots, so to speak.
Dave, I have a question. When you say replace the fall surface, what do you have a suggestion or?
Yeah, and that's good. It's good to get feedback on this from you all on this. So that's a good question to bring up. And you have basically there are standards for accessible playgrounds. The landscape architect that was on this, they recommended a poured in place. They call it PIP surface. I can't, Skylar might even know more about what that surface is made of than I, but it's just you clear it out, you put a little trim thing around it, and then you spray this stuff in there. There's pros and cons to that. It's not that cheap, and it gets a little hot in the summertime when it's in the sun. So usually you want to do poured in place and then eventually do a shelter on top of it or something. But that's kind of where we were going with this. Just if you're going to do the improvement, then do it to the highest ADA standard. So it's like a rubberized. Skylar, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, it's like a rubber base. Yeah, like Dave said, there's pros and cons. It's low maintenance. We
Yes.
don't, you don't have weeds coming up through it or anything like we have with our softball, but it also is costly right off the bat. And if someone vandalizes it, like chips out a portion of it or something, you may have to replace the whole thing altogether. So I don't know if it makes sense for all of our parks, but certainly maybe one or two of them, it could be a good solution for the long-term maintenance.
Yeah.
And
Just a caution about that with all of the events that are currently happening in Memorial Park, I think there's a high likelihood that the PIP could be damaged. Whether it's the Pikes Peak Ascent Marathon or the Commonweal or any of the wine festival, I just think there's a possibility that there could be some inadvertent or vertent, if that's such a word, damage.
Yeah, that's a conundrum. It holds up pretty well, but right, if Skylar was right, if somebody takes a crowbar to it, it starts to spread.
Well, when they start putting up their tents for the variety of
Mhm.
fairs and for the ascent and marathon.
Yeah, I don't think, yeah, I don't think Memorial Park would be a good candidate for that at all. I think keeping it a permeable surface, especially it's in the flood zone, it gets all kinds of use, and
Yeah.
the events really utilize that whole park. So again, I kind of, well, when we get to Fields Park, I think that one would be a better candidate to
Gotcha.
do an experimental kind of ADA surface on that one.
I think that long term, I would be in support of making this park ADA accessible for children. And I think even during Commonweal, they leave the playground available for kids. So I guess I have a different opinion about that.
Well, and I think if you add to that a structure, like a pergola or something to provide some shade for it, that would claim the space a little bit more too. So that's a possibility, certainly, Chris. It's just that I have a fear for inadvertent damage.
And one other thing, that I'm not really seeing on this report is related to the signage, which we were talking about before, kind of like a more sort of holistic approach to signage in the parks and like standardizing things. And so is that something that we should be considering or like putting on the list for this?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's uncommon to see signage in something like this, but I just defer to you all and Skylar to kind of see where that fits with it, whether it's in kind of capital projects or if it's part of a larger master plan kind of thing. Yeah, typically you might not find it in this type of report. So open to hearing thoughts from you all on that.
Yeah, I would think, as we chip away at this list and go from park to park, that we would do kind of a comprehensive, let's make all the repairs necessary to this park at this time before moving on to the next. But there may be a time where we do signage in all the parks, kind of like what we were talking about earlier with open carry. We may just want to do one big park rules sign and replace it all at once at all of our parks. So it's kind of a situational sort of thing.
Yeah, and that would be, that'd be great to have that as part of a larger wayfinding and signage community-wide plan, Yeah, that's all great points though, but I would say signage should be its own thing altogether, really. But there's kind of an easy quick fix. You are seeing problems and here's a solution that you could do. So yeah, Skylar, maybe we could talk about that afterwards as far as what the options are. Okay. Anything else? Move on. All right. Okay, this is another one kind of like this is 7 Minute Springs in the gazebo. Another one kind of like mansions where for its function, it appeared, besides some slope issues, which are everywhere obviously, but it appeared to be functioning at the level that it's intended to function. Unless you want to start programming this hillside area or something, or put a trail down there, but I don't think that's part of the plan. I didn't read that anywhere or hear that, but a couple little things with the crosswalk, with maybe some ramping stuff. But really, the gazebo's in great shape. It's a great community asset. But that's what we kind of using the same parameters that we use for all the other sites. This is one that's in that good to very good functionality. So, any thoughts on this one? Unless you want to do something dramatically different with it.
No, keep going, Dave.
Okay, gotcha. All right, let's see. Okay, this is a very interesting one. Shriver Park. So we did look at the pool and fitness center as a its own kind of thing, and that was standalone thing. But the park itself, there's all kinds of interesting things going on here. There's the easy ones are just ADA grade issues for accessibility from the trail to the bathroom. Just if you're looking at what doesn't meet the standards, right? Not getting too complicated with the why, but what. And there's that, and then there's the bridge surface really here, which is it's kind of an interesting one. It doesn't, the tolerance for surfaces, I think, from what our engineer said, might not be met based on accessibility standards, but it also it's just better for bikers and everybody, walkers. So just that's that. This one does have an artificial surface on its playground, so we didn't really recommend a new surface for this one. It's a very new playground, right? As far as playgrounds go. So
Yeah,
because
$30,000 of turf,
yeah, exactly. So
artificial turf.
made sure that that's and that's fine. That's great. It's don't want to show any replacement of that. So some of the access things, they're just recognizing some of those, but the park itself, at one point we had paved the paths all the way through here, but we heard from Parab, I think a year ago, that was not in the best interest of the community to have paved paths everywhere all the time. So that was something that we kind of took out to maintain that feel of that park, and the impervious surfaces or permeable surfaces are important there. So just a couple things there. The building itself, that's a different matter. That's for a different board, I think. So. And then the restroom, yeah, the restroom needs some upgrades as well, but making sure people can get to that restroom is important. So we make sure we point out all those. Definitely has a lot of use based on the amount of parking, 53 or so spaces. That's going to be a big one. So yeah, that's kind of the story. Okay, let's keep going. We just have, I think, two more. Did we get to Fields yet? Oh, Fields is last. Okay, Soda Springs, you've done enough work on it. We deferred to the plan in the phase 2, the phase 3, and phase beyond that. So we just sort of took a look at the immediate things on this. The recommendations in that plan, that master plan, and the ongoing work is you're doing great job on it. Just try to get the grant funding for it. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on where this sits as far as a priority, but other than that, just deferring to the master plan for Soda Springs Parks to go forward with this one. Okay, and then finally Fields Park. We took a lot of looks at this one, but some of the same stories. The restrooms will need some work to get to ADA compliance, and to get to vandal resistant stuff. That's almost part of our buildings assessment. LED vandal resistance lighting, those kinds of things. And then the same with the playground, with the fall surface. Take a look at which one you might want. Sounds like this might be one that you'd want a new surface on. We know that you're redoing the tennis courts, so we have that in there. And then other than that, just a couple gaps in sidewalk, curb and gutter for ADA. So thoughts on Fields.
Okay,
This one,
any questions, anybody? Okay, go ahead on, Dave.
okay, well, that's kind of our park by park thing. That's pretty much all to present. I would certainly offer to answer questions, or also figure out a way that you as the Parks Recreation Advisory Board can help us put each park in its place, so to speak, as far as a priority, because we have our ideas, but that's pretty much it. Unless Skylar, you have anything else to point out?
Yeah, I did want to mention that this advisory board oversees the pool as well, and I know that wasn't necessarily in the slides, but I did include it in the packet, and it's got a little different format than this, but maybe we should wrap up the parks piece and then I can share my screen and show you kind of Dave's recommendations for the pool. But we've also kind of launched that feasibility study, as you know, that one is moving forward to try and figure out what the overall vision is for that facility. But I'll kick it back over to you, Dave, and the board really to provide some feedback on how we want to present the parks, because we are taking this to City Council in 2 weeks on April 19th for adoption. So we're kind of just, nearing the finish line, and this is one of the last steps. We want to make sure everyone is comfortable with what is in this document before taking it to City Council. It would be great to have a letter of support from Parib, because I know that'd be one of the things that City Council will ask for. So anyways, those are kind of some of my thoughts.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks, Skylar. I slipped my mind. The pool is on Parks and Recreation Board's purview. So yes, that is your thing. So that's I would just kind of turn it back to the board. I got a couple. I'll just read through my notes here while I was taking them. As far as Bill Bowers, let's just consolidate sidewalk improvements to where we need them to get people to those accessible equipment. Not do don't need a full perimeter. Mabel Willie, this could be a top priority as far as a small neighborhood park. As far as an overhaul of the whole park might be, maybe you might just need a whole redesign based on the previous design. However, its identity is that it's a throwback. Mansions, how do we do shuffleboard equipment? Is there anything that we could think about that will help us with that, with release of equipment, lockers, and so on? Memorial Park, maybe not the best place for fall surfaces, for poured in place fall surfaces, but maybe a fall surface replacement would be good, because it's so heavily used, and maybe a shade structure or something you think of to do there. And then Fields Park would be probably a great candidate for a poured in place fall surface for the playground. So those are my quick notes. All good comments, but I'll turn it back to the board for any other things that came up.
Skylar, we're kind of running on time here. We have another presentation, so I would ask that you hold off on your pool piece on the Cushing Terrell, and maybe save that for the pool report when that comes up with the feasibility study, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Maybe what I can do with Dave is we can do that over email. I can just send it out, that one page, and you guys can provide feedback via email. The problem is we're kind of under a timeline here to get this to City Council. Otherwise, I'd say let's wait till next month when the feasibility study is a little further along. But yeah, if that's okay with the board, we can take care of that over email and wrap up that portion. But Danu, what do you think about taking a vote tonight, or should we do that over email as well when you see a final product?
Well, I think the feasibility study, as it stands right now, seems pretty comprehensive, and I think, in terms of the order and the process, we have to go back to our strategic planning schedule and kind of have a look at that as well and incorporate all those pieces. But I think it's as it stands, I'm okay with it, moving it forward to City Council. Anybody else weigh in, please? David Crawford?
Yeah, I just had a question in regards to there were a lot of ADA components in there. Is there some sort of an industry standard in the way that communities normally manage that? If we've got a couple of parks that are set aside, or is that just sort of an expectation that at some point all of our parks will be ADA?
Yeah, so you have very unique circumstances there. And Skylar, you can follow up, or anybody else too, but I would say it's one of those things that you you want to get it done when the time comes to hit that park as much as you can within your budget, right? So I think the approach going forward is going to be do one park at a time. So when you're doing that, we kind of got guidance, I think, a little bit instead of doing an ADA project, right? You do a park project and then you do the ADA at that time. And then again, within the budget that you have to do this project. So that's what I would say, at least.
I think that makes sense. I have to say, kind of when I was new to the board a few years ago, I feel like ADA compliance was something that sort of caught us off guard. And we've been working really hard to kind of capture the low hanging fruit, so to speak,
right.
Get the things that we can within our budget that are easy or in response to community requests, like that swing in Bill Bowers Park, for example, or some other little features. But it's been a big priority. But I like what you're saying. Identify the park, do the big work, and then get as much of that done at that time, rather than trying to maybe do little bits here and there. It's served us well to this point. I think to get something, because honestly, up until a few years ago, we were, I don't know, I feel like the most ADA unfriendly parks in the country. But we've made some huge progress, and I think that this is a great way to maybe transition to a new phase in our goal of getting as much ADA accessibility as possible.
Totally. Oh, sorry.
Well, if what is being asked is to say, and tell me, Danu, if this is wrong, but maybe we should, as a board, vote that we agree with and endorse the feasibility study and would like to move it forward as a study. If so, I so move.
The Parks Facilities CIP, right? The feasibility study. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, the capital improvement plan.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, Dave is here for the capital improvement plan, the feasibility studies for the pool.
Just terminology.
So,
Okay.
but yeah,
The capital improvement plan, if that's it, then I so move that we give that endorsement to council. I don't know.
okay, all right, yeah, I'm good with that. Is everybody good
I
with that?
agree. I think from a big picture standpoint, I feel comfortable moving that forward, knowing that the individual prioritization and say specification of parts, et cetera, we're going to look at in the future as it pertains to the goals that we've set, and wouldn't necessarily need to stop us from, I think, supporting it overall right now. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so because this is a presentation, I usually don't take formal votes on presentations, but we can do a consensus vote of approval of the concept, the capital improvement plan as it stands to present to council, that we all are in favor of it.
And that's what I was intending, since Skylar wanted some kind of note.
Sure. Danielle, Rebecca? Okay, Rebecca says yay. Danielle? Chris says yay. Dave? Crawford? Okay. And Colin, are you still there?
I'm here and I'm giving it a thumbs up.
Okay, very good. And Danielle, thumbs up for you too? I don't know if Danielle's still with us. She had to leave early. But in any event, it's you have a consensus vote of approval. Okay, Skylar?
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Dave.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks all. Great
Thanks for your
conversation.
time. Thanks
Much
for your
appreciated.
time, Dave.
All right, I'll jump off now.
Okay, great.
Have a good evening.
Thank you, you too. Okay, I'd like to move on to the next item of the major subdivision at 183 Crystal Park Road. We have Dylan Becker to do a presentation. This is the land dedication or fees in lieu of land. Dylan, hi.
Hi, Danu. Hey, Parab. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Dylan. I'm a planner too in the planning department for the city. And what I'm presenting tonight is a proposed major subdivision of the former McLaughlin Lodge property. That's 183 Crystal Park Road. And as part of the major subdivision process, there's a land dedication component associated with that. It is a requirement of the code. And basically what I'm looking for tonight is basically some discussion about, so the applicants have proposed a pocket park as part of their major subdivision. So the discussion tonight is sort of looking at that proposed pocket park and determining whether you want further dedications, no dedications, fees in lieu of a dedication, and if you want to accept or reject the proposed pocket park dedication, and discussions about if you do want dedication, where would be suitable for a dedication. So I'm going to share my screen here. What we have here is a preliminary plat, sort of informal at this point, not 100% set. They will be bringing their request for the major development, major subdivision. They're going through a concept plan presentation to get feedback from the Planning Commission next Wednesday at their regular meeting. But basically what they're trying to do is they're trying to rehabilitate the existing cabins and bring them up to habitability, and they're going to sell the existing cabins off as sort of condominium or a townhome plat. So what that means is they basically own what's under the footprint of the building, and the rest is sort of common area between those in the subdivision. On the east side of Sutherland Creek here, they're looking to subdivide those lots and sell them off to be developed by private owners. So they have proposed a pocket park. Let's see here. And so the area they've proposed for dedication for a pocket park is this 2,500 square foot piece here. And what that looks like on the regular map is it's this piece right here. Now, the Open Space Advisory Committee, this went before them last Monday. They have proposed that a dedication be made along Sutherland Creek that is a 20-foot wide tract of land to be used for a trail basically by the creek. So that is not necessarily immediately adjacent to this pocket park that they have proposed. This is just a little cleaner site plan so you can sort of see better what's going on. But the proposed pocket park area is here. And Sutherland Creek runs through the property here. So what I'm looking for tonight is feedback on the proposed pocket park and basically a recommendation to the planning commission about whether that's desired or if it's desired in another location, or if Para would rather have the fees in lieu of the dedication.
Okay. Dylan, do you want to kind of review the information that you sent to OSAC, which was the email which contained the 9% of gross acreage, which comes out to 35,440 square feet, the formula there that you used? For
Yes.
if we just want fees, if we just want land dedication?
All right. So these are rough calculations. They're not 100%. It's just to get sort of an idea. But basically, under the land dedication formula in Title 16, which is the subdivision code, the fees in lieu, if no dedication was proposed, would be a little over $16,000. And that's calculated as 9% of the 9.04 acres that comprise the whole site at about 46 cents a square foot.
But that's probably not fair market value today.
No, but that is the calculation in the code. And that's what we go off.
Then I would like to make a motion that we do not take fees in lieu of land.
I second.
I'd like to make a friendly amendment to that, that we, if we do not get our full land dedication, that we get the fees to make up our full land dedication in addition to land dedication. So we would get a land dedication and then get, in addition to that, the fees in lieu of land to make up whatever acreage that we don't get in land.
Yeah, and so as far as what the dedication in land at maximum is about 35,440 square feet under that 9% calculation of the total 9.04 acres. So it's a little over half an acre.
Well, I missed that, Dylan. Can you repeat that again?
Yeah, so 9% of 9.04 acres comes out to about 35,440 square feet.
Okay, yeah, gotcha. Okay, I'm tracking. And that would be our total land dedication that we could request, not necessarily saying that we would get that much, correct?
Yeah, and so basically the Planning Commission and City Council are the bodies that have the authority to require a dedication or the fees in lieu. So what you're giving them is a recommendation, basically on which you want and where might be suitable if you do want a land dedication. That doesn't mean necessarily that you'll get it, but it informs the Planning Commission and City Council that you do want a dedication.
Right. And you're saying that the park dedication that they're proposing to give to us is about 22,500 square feet.
Correct, by their calculation.
Did you say 22,000?
2,500.
Oh, yeah, right.
2,500 compared to 35,000.
Correct.
Right.
2,484.
Right. Well, they did a revised one and they gave us a little bit more, so it's 2,520.
Okay, so how do we craft our motion? Can we have several motions?
Well, here's what I'd like to do. I have this item on our agenda under old business where we can formally make a recommendation and take a vote. And so for right now, I would like, since Dylan is here, for any questions that you guys might have. Because I really would like to discuss this a little bit more before we make a motion.
Can I
So,
ask-
go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, Dylan, sorry, my voice is coming in and out. How does this compare then to the OSAC? Will OSAC get an additional 2,500 acres, or is this for OSAC, para, and together?
This is just for parks. So the parks calculation and open space calculation, they're two separate dedications and two separate animals, basically.
Perfect. And so can you point on the map where OSAC was wanting theirs again?
Yeah, so it's a little hard to see here, but they've requested a 20-foot wide tract along Sutherland Creek, which runs
Through
through
there, okay.
here. Yeah.
Hey,
Which-
Dylan, can I say something real quick? If you
Yeah,
go back
jump
to
in.
that, if you go back to that map that had the colors on it, that red line was essentially, with the exception of that cutout rectangle, that red line was essentially what our motion was. Very essentially, because that kind of followed, with the exception of the little rectangle, because we also wanted to tie into the proposed park, pocket park.
Perfect. So it'd be over in that section. And they are planning to just reformulate those cabins, yeah? So we wouldn't be removing any of the cabins. They'd stay there.
No, the historic cabins will stay there, but if you see these 3 buildings here with an X on it, they are proposing removal of those. They are not historic cabin structures. This is a maintenance or garage built in 1975. And these are 2 duplexes built in about 67 that were associated with the Cheyenne Village use of the property. This building here, they have decided to keep in place, and they're going to use it as like a mail kiosk for the people who live in the townhome subdivision.
Are they open to, say, the other end of town or the other end of the plot? So like that big green open space there, it's nice, as opposed to this little tiny corner there.
So you're talking over here?
Oh no, in the up far top right corner. And
Over
then, sorry, and then in that green space. So right along Crystal Park Road there, up even further in the red section.
Up here?
Yeah, that, yep.
You know, I don't know if they have anything particularly proposed for that. Again, what they're intending to do is basically subdivide these vacant lots and sell them to private owners who would then develop the properties.
Okay.
I don't know if that's one that they're intending to sell or keep, or I just don't know.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Hey, Danu, can I point something
Yeah,
out? Just
Shannon, go ahead.
when you guys start
Sure.
deliberating, and Dylan, you might need to correct me here. The open space dedication is 19,689 with a possible addition of 12,600 square feet. Is that right? That's
I
an
don't-
email you sent to us.
Yeah, and that, if that's what it says, yeah, that's a rough calculation, however.
What is the possible plus 12,600?
So that needs to be clarified because it's not real clear in the code, because what it says is an additional 400 or 600 feet per dwelling unit,
Right.
but these are existing units. I don't know if that refers to existing or new. 'Cause
Okay,
usually
gotcha.
these come through as, you know, a new development, whereas this is a redevelopment.
Okay, so where I'm going with that, guys, is me and Danu looked at this, and I think we need to have a joint like site visit at some point so everybody can kind of see. OSAC, and I think this was one of you guys' actual ideas. is to take the creek walk portion there. If we did that, that's roughly 30,000 square feet. If we did a 20-foot, we were guessing it to be about 1,500 feet, linear feet. So 30,000 feet. If we don't get that extra 12,600, we're going to be 10,000 feet short of being able to do the trail. If we do get the whole thing, we're going to be right under, because the whole thing would be 32,000 square feet if that 12.6 stands. Does that make sense? So if we're truly going to try and figure out how to do this together, if we don't get as much as we thought, we're not going to be able to do the whole creek. And I don't know, I mean, I definitely know we're probably not in the business of doing a half finished out and back trail. So
One option there, Shannon, though, would maybe reduce the width of the
Right.
request, but
if we get down to that 20,000, the 19,689, that's going to be real tough to do, especially because, I mean, I think we had talked, guys, like Danielle, I think you were talking about that square lot up at the very north side of this. We had initially thought of that as like an open space type thing, and then take that red line all the way up. There's a drainage ditch that goes from Sutherland Creek to their proposed pocket park. So we really need an end and a beginning here. And we were initially thinking that pocket park might be, but I think Danu's got a lot of great ideas too. But just please keep in mind in you guys' deliberations, we might need some help, like to make that trail.
Chris?
So Shannon, I'm trying to get this sort of down in the minutes, or like and so for our future deliberations here, what you said, like 30,000-ish square feet is what's needed for the sort of creek walk trail thing?
Right, and that's a conservative estimate. I'm just trying, because if we have to present this to planning, I don't want to
Right.
go in too low.
And
Our
what I was
committee said
looking-
20 feet. I think we could go to 10. But
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the problem, we need to have a site visit.
Yeah, I agree. I guess when I was looking at the code, I read 5%. So like the bare minimum for OSAC was 5% of gross acreage.
Which equals the 19,689.
I think that's actually
It's-
9,689.
it's 4%. 4% for open space.
Huh, I read
Not 5%?
It says
Yes, it says 5%
in the
gross
code.
acreage for open space. But you know, what, Dylan, I think it sounds like what you need to find out though is that 600 square feet per dwelling unit. And you need to find out if that's applicable to the existing dwellings, because there are no dwellings on the new portion. So that seems kind of impossible to base that ordinance on nothing that's existing right now. So it seems like it would have to be the existing dwellings that are there on the property.
So let me show you the code real quick, because that's not necessarily the case.
In your email, Dylan, it said 5%, parks gets 9%. Open space gets 5%. If it was 5%, that's 19,000 square feet.
It might be 5%. Is it schools? Maybe that's 4%.
Schools gets 700 square foot per dwelling.
So open space, 5% of the gross acreage, plus 600 square feet per dwelling unit, up to a maximum of 25% of the gross area.
Right. So it sounds like you need to find out.
So we're for sure, we have 19,689 square feet.
I
We
did
could-
my calculation wrong then, and then that's wrong in the minutes from last week. But anywho,
So possibly we have 32,000 square feet.
and then Parks has another 35.
That's correct. Yeah.
But do you guys have that weird thing per dwelling and we don't know about your dwelling part either yet?
No,
No,
we
I'm-
just have a straight up 9%.
Of
Okay.
gross acreage. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question? So
Go ahead.
if Parks is supposed to get something like 35,000 square feet, and the developer is, why are they only proposing a 2,500 square foot pocket park? That I don't understand that.
Money.
So initially, they were not proposing any dedications. I had asked them if they could propose a dedication, and that was what they proposed. And so basically what they're trying to do is subdivide the property, sell off the vacant properties to help fund the rehabilitation of the existing cabins.
I think you mean
Are-
fund
but
the
are we in-
profit.
Yeah, but are we entitled as Parks? Can we say, no, we want a full 35,000 square feet, or it?
So you can state that and request that, but it's up to the planning commission and city council.
To decide if we make a good enough case
Yeah.
Okay.
to which they agree with us.
So they might rule, they're like the judge, and they might say, we rule in favor of the developer. Because Parks didn't put a good case forward, or is that? Am I understanding
So
that right?
whatever dedication you're proposing, it has to be tied strongly to the post plan. You have to justify why you want what you're asking, basically. And they, as the quasi judicial board on the preliminary plat, make that determination and recommendation to city council on the final plat. So the final plat goes to city council with whatever recommendation from the planning commission, and city council decides yay or nay, basically.
I think
Okay.
go to the site with OSAC and have a visit, and also bring the post plan and see if there's a way that OSAC and PARB can coordinate, come up with a good.
So two things.
They-
One, it's private property.
They do
So-
have, they do have the property's fenced off right now. So we would have to ask special permission to get on there to do a walkthrough. Shannon, Tim Beeson and I were able to sneak in there before they fenced it all off. Chris, I think Chris and
Probably doesn't need to
Danielle,
be in the
I'm not
minutes.
sure if Rebecca.
No.
No,
And-
no, don't put that in the minutes.
The other thing to keep
Well,
in mind
Well, it
too,
wasn't fenced off before, so.
the other thing to keep in mind too, is that the parks and open space dedications are two separate things. So if you're working together, just keep that in mind, that they can be adjacent to each other, but you can't combine them.
Danu,
Right. Right,
so just so everybody
Um,
knows, you can see pretty
Yeah.
much this whole thing from the road right now, while the leaves are not on the trees. So a site visit,
uh-huh,
I don't think we're going to get a lot of love from the developer just yet. I think there's some sore feelings after the last council meeting. So I mean, I probably wouldn't even ask
yeah,
for a site visit, just to kind of keep everybody, just kind of play some
Yeah.
politics and keep friendliness. I think we can see everything from
Okay.
the road.
Yeah, if you park at the cantina, you can see everything, you know, or even just walk
Okay.
along that space.
Yeah.
And
Um,
Donna, I did go through the post plan like you requested, and I have comments when it gets to that.
okay, great, Rebecca. Hey, Dylan, can you throw that map up again? I have a few, I wanted to ask you a few questions.
Do you want this one or the,
The first one, or the one that they, that's in the Felsberg, Holt and Olvig one in their report.
I mean, this one?
Which is insane. Yeah, that guy. Yeah. I was reading in this report, the Felsberg, Holt and Olvig, that the southeast portion of the site, which is 1.42 acres, will be undevelopable due to steep topography. Can you point that out where that area is that they're not thinking of developing? And roughly that's about 1.5 acres, right?
Somewhere in here, yeah.
So that's conceivable that we could ask for that dedicated portion for our parkland with some kind of connectivity to the creek walk trail that runs along the creek. Because the existing creek runs out onto Sandra Lane. So, it's conceivable that maybe we could get a portion of that land for Pocket Park and then hit back on the creek there off of Sandra Lane to tie into the open space Sutherland Creek Trail. Can you point that out for everybody to see?
Where Sutherland Creek is?
Yeah, right there. And then it runs all the way into there and boom, it runs right into the OSAC dedication.
Danu,
So,
I'm curious how we would tie that trail into Sandra. Are you talking about tying that trail into Sandra now?
No, I'm saying that if Para requests a park dedication up in that area where Dylan, you just had your pointer in the southeast corner where they weren't going to develop in that area there, that could be our dedicated park space, and then we could have a trail that could tie into the creek from there. Yes, exactly.
So also think about other accessibility too, because
And then maybe add some more.
Because I think part of the reason they proposed it here in this little area is because they don't want the public walking through private property. So that's just one area you're going to get pushback on from them, and need to think about as far as access and justification.
Can I ask a question about that, Dylan?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
And I think I can do this in you guys' meeting instead of being the chair of another committee. Why is that really a thing? I mean, how many of us in Manitou have to walk between each other's houses? Like, we're not like, do they understand Manitou? I don't get this. I've heard that a couple times. They don't want people walking by their houses.
Well, that's just a speculation. I mean, because they're selling them to private owners.
Right.
And how many people, would want that on their property is sort of a thought. I'm not saying, one way or the other. I'm just telling you that's some of the justification and thought that I have heard from them. So.
Okay.
I guess sorry.
No, go ahead, Chris.
I guess Dylan, for specifically what I would like to ask of you is just like the specifics, if you can find out the specifics of like square footage that Parab, and I mean, I don't know if we can ask for OSAC to, since we're sort of working jointly on this project, if you could find out the square footage for both dedications and the school dedication. Honestly, I'm curious what their dedication would be as well. I think that's important information that we need to move forward, what we can ask for.
But aren't we on a bit of a timeline?
Yes.
So this is the second time this has come before you guys. You really need to provide at least something, because when it goes to the concept plan, whatever feedback they get from the planning commission, that's how they're going to modify their plans, is based on that feedback. So
yeah, absolutely. That said, we had zero information the first time it was presented to us. It's just nice to get some background now and to see this, and we can start working toward an informed decision. I'm of the opinion that we should maximize this ask. I don't see anywhere in this proposal where we're getting anywhere near the recommended value from the code. And I don't think that it's a stretch to justify that ask based on what we know is in the post plan. This overall plan doesn't add a lot of value to Manitou. It's going to benefit a few people with deep pockets who are going to pay the price that they're asking to develop these small lots, or these lots in the back rather. And the real benefit, I think, to people who will live in this area in the future, especially those living in these, small cabins in the front, is going to be some really amazing open space and park space. And I'm for putting this recommendation forward to maximizing the ask. I don't see any downside otherwise from our standpoint. And I think it's totally consistent with the post plan and anything that most citizens would say.
Mm-hmm.
And I would also add that really we haven't had a chance until this meeting to really digest any of it, because as Danu said and others said, when it was first presented, we didn't have the information. So we didn't know what we were looking at and what it was going to result in.
Well, I think we can just, what we need to tell Dylan though for this meeting, yes, we didn't get the information, but I think it's important that we just take a particular stance in which we'll vote on in the end, and then we can make recommendations to the planning council, and then we can, I think, hash out maybe some more of the finer details. And again, planning will be the ones to really tell us what we have, how much we have, but I think we just need to make some strong recommendations.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Here, just one more piece to think about. Down in that upper corner, that's on the corner of Crystal Park Road and Sutherland, Dylan, that one little, yeah, that guy, right where your pointer is, that is a water easement. And technically, you're not supposed to build on top of that water easement.
And every time I drive by there, there's deer right in that spot.
So I'm only pointing that out because I'm trying to make it feasible to make land dedication requests on land that they really wouldn't be able as readily to develop on. So that could also be a possibility, either for open space to take on part of that parcel of land as part of their entryway off of Sutherland and Crystal Park Road to access the Creek Walk Trail. That might make a little more sense than, and then we'd have to work it out to work with that proposed park that they're proposing to give to us and see if we could, like, maybe, my other thought was maybe that could be one of the access points. We could use it, but then instead of cutting through the property, we could go up along the southern border behind that cabin. Yep, that way, and connect up to the Creek Walk Trail that way. And then that way OSAC would still have their trail follow the whole creek. Yep, exactly. So that's another option.
What about Pocket Park to Pocket Park using that trail? Just a thought.
Well, that would be OSAC's portion, but and then OSAC's portion would follow the creek all the way out to Sandra Lane.
But Danu, I don't know that we can do with what we have, and I think
Well,
that's a big part we might.
Shannon, I'm just throwing out ideas here. Okay.
No, I know. I think it's hard though now. Like,
well, you didn't spend.
Yeah, we said Pocket Park to Pocket Park, and we have a motion, but we still don't have the information of what we're actually entitled to.
Right.
And that affects you guys too. Like, we could be missing 12,000 square feet. And if that's the case, and we want to do this as a joint, like, hey, let's do this as a team, we might need a bigger ask from you guys. But we still don't have that. And I don't really know how I can even go to a meeting and present and ask for something if I don't know what we're entitled.
Right. Shannon, you want to read your motion for MOSAC, the motion that was made? That would be good.
Hold on.
Right, or I got it right here in front of me, but I'll let you go ahead and read it.
I don't have it pulled up. But the motion was a 20-foot trail.
Can I read it?
Sure.
Okay, the motion from OSAC was to request the land dedication for open space on the property. request the 20-foot wide tract of land along the creek through the property to be used for a public path connecting to proposed pocket park. Based on the acquisition criteria for open space outlined on pages 90, 91 of the postmaster plan. So, you know, the pocket park, if you do follow it along the Sutherland Creek, technically you would be coming out there by Sandra Lane. And if we asked for that proposed pocket park, it would be dumping right out at the proposed pocket park in the area that they don't want to build. And then
But
part of our,
But we discussed our motion. I mean, it doesn't specify this, but it was very clear in our meeting that it was going to go up the creek until it got to that drainage ditch, which is where it takes that really hard, yeah, right there where Dylan's at. And it was going to hit you guys' pocket park. And when me and you were out there, that little piece of property to the south, or yeah, the south of that proposed pocket park,
yeah,
they're not building on that either. So I think you could probably double the size of that pocket park or a trailhead, whatever we need to call it, if it becomes an OSAC property. But we had never planned to go up to Sandra because, I mean, that's private property.
No, but we're staying within the boundaries of the developments, Shannon. We're not,
Right. But we're not going to do a trail that dead ends at private property. One of our big things that we could make this work too was one of the things we can go in front of council and say, hey, this is drawing some pedestrian traffic off of Crystal Park Road. And if we just dead end it into you guys' park, that doesn't fit that bill. So
right. But if our park had some kind of a trail easement back out to that originally dedicated park, that would solve that problem.
Right. It would.
That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying, Shannon.
My biggest concern is our square feet.
You're right. Right.
Mine too.
Right.
And
Mine
I'm
three.
curious can we go in, Dylan, and ask, because I hope that we go in together and present one after another at planning. Can we go in and say, hey, we want that, since we don't have square feet, can we say we want the maximum land dedication and this is the general idea of what we want?
I think that's what they want. Yeah, Dylan?
Yeah.
That's what they want from us. Yeah. So absolutely, Shannon. I think we should swing for the fences.
Yeah, swing for the fences, but we could say generally we want this, but we can't really carve it up just yet. I was under the impression that we needed to carve it up for them. But if we came in there generally speaking, this is what we want, and we'll however we have to do it.
Right. I mean, it sounds like that's all. I was just gonna say that seems like that's all that we can do right now at this point anyway. It's just to make the
and
recommendation.
looking at the map, I think that if the square footage is there, it's going to lend itself to some of these things that we're talking about.
Right.
Based on the layout, if the square footage is actually there.
And if it isn't, I think we need to, both of our boards need to figure out what we prioritize. Do we want the trail and a trailhead and a park on both sides? We're just going to have to figure that out. I mean, because if we can only do the trail, we got to figure out how it ends and begins.
Right.
Which would benefit us if we can offer some alternatives so we aren't locked in and they see that we're somewhat flexible, but that we want the maximum. And this is to achieve post-plan to have the trail and park connected.
Right.
If you look at page 90, every single bullet point on that page justifies our ask.
Well, actually, I was pointing out to your board that on the very first page, front page of the post plan, that really sums it up right there.
I mean, that was great, but OSAC doesn't use that many words.
Well, it's not too late.
I'm kidding.
Hey, Dylan, wait, I have a quick question for Dylan.
Yeah.
Would you be responsible for figuring out all the square footage?
Yeah, we usually do that when we're writing the staff report, basically. It's part of the staff report.
So when would you know for sure about OSAC's portion about the 600 square feet per dwelling? Because that kind of seems like that's up in the air there.
Yeah, I can reach out to the city attorney and hopefully hear back by the end of the week about that, and then I can have some pretty close calculations.
Okay, okay,
But those general calculations are pretty close.
right,
Yeah.
okay.
But it seems
Okay,
like,
any other questions for Dylan? Go ahead, Chris,
Oh.
was that you?
yeah, I'm
Rebecca?
just saying, feel like in summary, it's that Parab wants to maximize our square footage of dedication, and OSAC also wants to maximize their square footage. And our recommendation, perhaps jointly, is that we
have to do it
combine.
separate. We have to do it separately, Chris.
Okay, but
Yeah,
what if,
and I think how we want to phrase this is that what we're asking for is what is allowed based on code per the total proposed number of dwellings.
yes,
And the
Rather than
reason-
just saying, hey, we want the most.
And the reason
Um,
we're doing it is because it furthers our mission in the post plan at X, Y, and Z. Because that's what we have to do, is to justify why we're asking for all of this stuff.
That's right.
It's totally easy to do.
and Parab's isn't contingent on the number of dwelling units, so for us, it doesn't matter so much, but
Right,
Right.
right. Okay, any other questions for Dylan? So Dylan, what,
no, I just want to say, Dylan, thank you. This is exactly the information that we've been looking for.
yeah, helpful, very helpful. I mean, OSAC, they, yeah, Shannon, you guys have had to really scramble from not having any information at all, so. But what I'll do, and you're welcome to stay on our meeting, but we're gonna make a formal recommendation under old business, and we'll have a formal vote. You'll be in the minutes, and I'll write it all up for you, okay? And write it up. Well, and actually, what I'll do is, Rebecca, we're gonna have to make a formal kind of formal motion, but then Dylan, are we gonna have to back that? Well, it seems like we're gonna have to back that up with the post plan.
Yeah, and ideally, both you and OSAC will have a representative come to the concept plan hearing on the 13th so that you can sort of discuss that on behalf of your bodies. So
Right. Okay. So Shannon, while you're still here,
Yes.
I kind of think that and then you guys jump in and tell me what you think. I kind of think that Parab and OSAC should have a joint kind of meeting soon so that we can have a discussion public meeting that can be posted so that we can kind of get on the same page. And I
We
also.
have a doodle poll going on right now through Skylar
Uh-huh.
to kind of get everybody everybody together for a site visit on the road.
Yeah.
I think that will help us. It will be a public meeting, so we can amend our motion, I think, on the side of the road with a public meeting. So, and I think we might have to because we don't know the square feet yet. So
Right.
hopefully by the time we have that site visit, we'll have the total square feet.
Parab, weigh in.
Sounds good. Let's do it.
Okay, have Skylar include us in the doodle poll for
I
site
think
visit.
yeah, that's the best.
Yeah.
Love
Is it-
that doodle.
All right, everybody pretty much on board with that? Anybody opposed to that?
We still need to make sure Dylan has something to the planning committee.
Yep.
before then.
Yeah, well, I think we'll do, I'll do something formal for you. Okay, Dylan, but I still need to get with Rebecca and work up the justification with the post plan. But I
Sure.
can at least open space and Parab can provide you with the recommendation that we would like the maximum amount of land that is, that we're entitled to request based on the ordinance.
sure, and just a little information on the timing. The packet for the planning commission goes out this Friday. So if anything you want included in that packet, Friday. Otherwise, you'll have to present it at the meeting, basically.
Dylan, that brings me to the question, are we presenting like on the agenda, or are we going to be there to be asked questions if needed?
I think it would be wise. You're not formally presenting anything, but to be present, you know.
I'll be there. I just didn't know if I
Yeah.
was going to, like, we're just there for questions. Are you going to tell them what we want?
I'm gonna give, yeah, my best explanation of it, but you know, really, it's you guys who are requesting this and know better than even I do. So
Right.
it-
So I was planning on sending you a letter basically that says our motion, and because I don't think this doodle poll I don't think is going to happen before Friday.
yeah, you have to post it 24 hours before the meeting,
Right.
or before your site visit.
So we can give you, Danu, as well, some kind of formal recommendation that says what we want.
You want a
generally,
dedication.
because this is a concept, right?
Yep. They're not making any formal decisions at this hearing. They're just getting feedback from the planning commission on their requests so that they, hopefully when it comes before them in the public hearings on the actual items, that by that time they're hopefully approvable.
And will that Wednesday at the planning commission meeting be the first time that they see our recommendation as well?
No, they've seen your recommendation.
OSEX?
Yeah.
Planning has, or your clients, or the applicants?
Yeah, the applicants have. Planning commission won't hear it until the hearing, basically.
Right, okay. Alrighty,
I mean, they'll
Okay.
get the packet on Friday, but they can't discuss it until hearing.
right. Okay, I think we know what we have to do tonight. So, any other questions for Dylan? Okay, if not, I'd like to move on with our meeting.
Thanks, Dylan.
Thank you, Dylan.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Dylan.
Okay, item number 6, we have reports. Very quickly, pair up the Soda Springs master plan update. Next May, Robin.
Hey, thanks,
Bart-
guys. See ya.
Okay, thanks, Shannon. Robin Bartling is going to go ahead and come to our meeting with her first concept plan drawing for the completion of Soda Springs Park. And she'll take our input there and then go back and revise her drawings based on our input. And then in mid-May, she is going to want a public meeting to present it to the general public.
So that's May 9th in
Oh.
the evening. So that's a Monday.
Oh, that Robin's gonna present?
No. She's gonna come to Parab on May 2nd during your normal meeting, and then the public meeting will be a week later on May 9th.
Oh, I won't be here.
Oh,
Yeah, I won't be here.
yeah. For some reason, May is pretty full of other public meetings, and we can't schedule multiple public meetings in the same night. So that was pretty much the only date I could get.
Okay. Okay.
Do you want me to change it? Should we? I
No.
mean, if we push it into June, it'll kind of stretch this project out more.
Well, what does the rest of the board feel like? What do you guys think?
I guess keep in mind, this is the public meeting, so the intention is, you know,
To
Parab,
get
you're
their
gonna get
input.
your, yeah,
Right,
Parab will get
Right.
your chance during the formal meeting in May, and then this will be the public's opportunity to weigh in.
What time is it on the 9th?
6 to 8.
and then in June. Okay,
If,
I don't have to be there.
if several of us can be there, May 9th to create a presence for Parab, we can manage without Danu. Just barely, but manage.
Yes. Well, I'm sure you guys will do that. That's about it, right? Skylar?
Sorry, say that again, Danu.
And then the Higginbotham Flats, we had a solar out all for Soda Springs, right? Yeah. Okay, and then Danielle hooked up a meeting with some solar folks, and Skylar, Danielle, and I and the solar folks met up there on the flats just to kind of see what was feasible. Danielle, are you, did you want to talk about that a little bit? I don't know, Daniel, if you're still with us. I see you there, but I know you had to hop off. Well, just very briefly, what we talked about was the scope of the project, and Skylar, jump in, okay, if I you know, am missing something. Basically, what I was trying to think of is how to have an experimental limited solar kind of thing up there, panel up there, to maybe potentially add some electricity up there, so that we could possibly have events up there. They'd have power, but they were also talking about being able to maybe provide more solar energy for some of our other parks if we ever wanted to expand it. Basically, I was just trying to have like a very limited footprint of solar panels. I was kind of thinking about what Colin and Tim were saying about trying to create, it wouldn't be much of a sound barrier, but it could be some kind of a barrier from the highway. We could put it up right against that frontage road. I believe it's about an 8-foot deep footprint. I believe that's what they said. And they said usually what they do is they stack 4 panels on top of each other. They're 3 foot wide by 6 foot tall. And I think it came out to something like 12 feet or 16 feet tall, but I thought that would be way too tall because I'm trying to minimize the visual impact from a trail. So I asked if they could do a lower profile. So so they're working on some kind of a plan to see what they can come up with and do a ballpark price. Any questions, Skylar? Did I about nail it there?
Yeah, I think you covered it. I think we just kind of opened the lines of communication to explore the solar power idea and see what the need is based on our master plan that we'll get into later this year.
Yeah.
But at least we've got a good reference point and try and understand what is possible, and they were able to kind of put some eyes on it, and we'll come up with a few different scenarios for us to consider and see how it fits in our overall plan.
Right, or if we want it, period. Right, if we want a solar presence up there. If there isn't anything else, I'm going to move on to council liaison report. Michelle, are you
I'm here.
hanging in there?
Yeah.
With us?
So as far, I don't have anything recent for recent meetings. Council
Okay.
did meet a couple. Can you hear me okay? Danu, I think you froze.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay. A couple weeks ago, council did meet on a Sunday.
Oh.
Am I frozen? No, I'm good. Okay. To discuss like our goals as we sit on council. And then tomorrow night, we are going over the fee structure. And then the library, we're voting on that as far as going forward for the budget and getting the library started. Well, not started, but getting that ball rolling. And then I know Lynn from Sunwater Spa is going to be talking to us about keeping the Tava truck at Sunwater Spa tomorrow night. There's a lot going on tomorrow night, so if anybody's welcome to come sit with us, that'd be awesome.
Is there any update at this time about the library design and whether or not it's being revisited, or is that, do you have any comments on that?
I don't think I can comment right now because I am making a motion tomorrow night. But basically, yes, we're hoping to look at Tina's design.
I'm sorry, Michelle, what was the last thing you said?
We're hoping to look at Tina Reister's design as far as like getting that, having an architect bring that to scale, to model, or to the scale.
Okay,
Yep.
okay, great. Any other questions or things for Michelle? Okay, if not, we'll move on. OSAC, we have, I'm assuming we have that in our packet, whatever. And then I'm gonna jump ahead to item 7, the Parks and Recreation Department. Skylar, why don't you give us your report? Do you have, can you do a quick director's report?
Yeah, sure can. Hey, Danu, you keep cutting in and out for me. Maybe try turning your camera off and see if that might
Oh,
help you not
yeah,
freeze so
okay.
much.
I know, I've been, okay, is that better?
Yep.
Oh, good, yeah, because I was having trouble too with cutting in and out too. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so just real quick, high level, we did launch our pool feasibility study a couple weeks ago. We had our consultants at the pool, spent most of the day with them, giving them a tour of the pool and the area park, and we have started that process. So we had a couple members from our steering committee there, and we're able to talk through expectations and figure out the scope of it, as well as talk through the process. So I believe we're gonna try and get them to come to Parib in May as well to pick your brain and talk a little about the scope of that feasibility study. They've already hit the ground running with the market analysis and looking at some other trends in this area and try and do that competitive analysis with our recreation center, as well as some of the data that we've had over the years with attendance numbers and revenues and things like that. So that process is underway. It'll take about 6 months to complete, and we'll kind of come back in May with more information. Speaking of the pool, swim lessons are back. We did begin swim lessons again for the kiddos 2 weeks ago, and we've had a couple of full classes, and we're excited to get more people at the pool again, coming out of COVID, and try and revamp our programming at our facility. And then I believe last month you guys discussed the Fields Park restroom building. So they took your input and feedback, and I'm expecting an updated concept plan probably by the end of the week. And I'm presenting that to the URA next week. They are funding this project, so we're trying to keep it moving forward. Once I get those concept plans, I'll probably email it to all of you, and you can chime in and provide any kind of feedback as we finalize that concept plan. The next steps would be preparing it to bid, hopefully by the end of the month was the goal for a summer construction. So I'll keep you all posted on that, but let me know if you have any questions. And then the last thing I was mention is we are planning to begin our treatment of the turf this week. We're scheduled to do the aerating, the overseeding, and the fertilizing with our organic products this week, and get our turf to continue coming back. It's already looking like it's bouncing back pretty good in most areas. There's a couple spots that I'm a little concerned about, but just want to let you know that our staff is on it, and we're hoping for a great season of our parks looking beautiful. That's it for me.
Did you say herbicides too? You're gonna do some herbicide treatment?
Yes, fertilizer and herbicides. Yep.
Okay, cool. Okay. Okay, great. Thanks, Skylar.
Yep.
Okay, anything else? Questions for Skylar? Okay, then let's move on to old business, to the land dedication, 183 Crystal Park Road. Do you guys have any other discussion that you want to cover before someone makes a motion? Or do you think we covered it all pretty well? Okay, that being said, would somebody like to offer a motion for the land dedication at 183 Crystal Park Road?
I think, I mean, I would make that motion, and I think that probably gonna have to work a little bit on the wording, but how I would start is that we would recommend that the city accept land. And that the dedication be up to the the allowable limit based on our ordinance.
Okay. Can I amend that a little bit, Tim?
Well, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I'd like to have the motion read that Parab recommends that we Parab would like to recommend full land dedication as per the ordinance 16.18, which states 9% of total square footage, gross acreage. Are you copying all this down, Chris? Because you're gonna have to read it back to Tim and I. Okay, so go ahead. Can you read back what I said so far? Oh, you're on mute, Chris.
Yeah, sorry, I'm switching back and forth.
Sorry.
Whoa, there's weird noise happening outside. Okay. Parab recommends full land dedication for the what's it called?
The major subdivision at 183 Crystal Park Road.
At 183.
Crystal Park Road. Yeah.
Road. I don't know the ordinance number. Per ordinance.
As I believe, as per ordinance 16.18. I have that here.
Which states that 9% of gross acreage be available or
designated.
Okay, I'll start from the beginning. Parab recommends full land dedication for the major subdivision at 183 Crystal Park Road as per ordinance 1618, which states that 9% of gross acreage
comprise the land dedication to
yeah. How about maximum land dedication?
Sure.
Be available for parkland?
Well, maybe you don't have to say that, but go ahead, start from the beginning again.
Okay. Parab recommends maximum land dedication for the major subdivision at 183 Crystal Park Road. As per, or I could say period. Crystal Park Road, period.
Well, I would cite as per.
Per ordinance 1618, 9% of gross acreage be available for parkland.
Okay. What do you guys think about that?
How about this would,
No, no,
Well,
no.
do we wanna-
Short and sweet, Chris.
Oh,
Short
okay.
and Sweet.
okay,
Short and sweet.
okay, well,
Yeah,
it's,
yeah, yeah. That's all we have to say.
okay.
Yeah, I
And
would
what
just,
were you
I would just,
thinking?
I'd recommend that we include our purpose.
Okay, I agree.
And
Do
we
we want to
also-
reference post plan here?
Yes, we have to do
Yeah,
that.
I think.
I mean,
Oh, I keep losing you guys.
Item 3, well, that was me just pausing because I was referencing back to the post plan. Item 3.2 in recommendations is adding two new pocket parks.
Okay. And then Rebecca, what did you have?
With
Oh, and
the-
actually, a follow-up to that too, though, is that another one of the overriding goals of the post plan is to improve connectivity between parks, open space, and trails. So getting that maximum allowable will enable us to, number one, create great pocket park. Number two, link appropriately with the open space that's going to be part of this as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so the purpose of obtaining the maximum allowable land for park space will meet several goals of the post plan.
I'd say satisfy rather than meet.
Okay,
Satisfy or maybe realize two important goals, creation of new pocket parks and improve connectivity between parks, open space, and trails.
Goals or criteria?
Well, and
Tim?
you can, it says integrate parks with an enhanced trail system to provide maximum access to existing parks. So that provides that.
Okay.
That's
So,
verbatim, and that sounds really good.
yeah,
sorry, Rebecca, can you say that again?
Yeah.
Integrate parks with an enhanced trail system to provide maximum access to existing parks. And then the next line is add pocket parks within the community. So it's what Tim's talking about, the connectivity, the trail systems, you're maximizing access. And those are just a handful of the ones in the post plan.
yeah, I mean, as many pertinent ones that you can come up with, Rebecca, I think will help.
Keep open
state our-
spaces open, accessible, and undeveloped. Seek parcels that not only provide open space, but also provide trail connections, view corridors, future developed park sites, and public access to mineral springs. That one doesn't count so much.
So I have another one.
If you want to cut and paste that into an email. and
Yeah, I'll
send
just
it-
do that.
That'd be awesome, and then I can just put, like,
Rebecca,
put it right in.
on
Gotcha.
page 5 of the post plan, in the lime green,
Yeah, absolutely. All of that's right there.
yeah, keeping in mind our community visions and the relationship between the character of our community parks, open spaces and trails, as well as the built environment.
Mhm.
We shall be aware of long-term implications.
So Chris, I'm just pulling right from the post plan, so I'll just email you that if that's okay. Just as a caveat, I'm gonna be gone like all starting tomorrow, so I will try to get this to you as soon as I can, but I'm gone through the rest of the week, so I apologize.
So here's what I'm thinking, you guys. I'm thinking that we take a formal vote on our motion, which is basically to state what our recommendation is. And then Chris, Tim, Rebecca, then when we submit a formal written to planning for their packet, then I can include all this post stuff, okay? Just so I want to make sure that, and then Jan too, I want to make sure that we capture all of it to make a good justification and reason. Be great to have little pages and to say this is where we pulled it out from. What do you call those, footy notes? You know, stuff like that, okay?
You're funny.
Well, anyway, so does that sound good to you guys? So so I'm gonna, Chris, will you read back my motion? Chris, my amended motion to Tim's?
Yep. Okay. Parab recommends maximum land dedication for the major subdivision at 183 Crystal Park Road per ordinance 16.18, 9% of gross acreage be available for parkland. The purpose of well, I have one more sentence.
Okay.
The purpose of obtaining the maximum allowable land for park space will realize important goals of the post plan.
Okay, good. Does that sound good to everybody?
Good.
Okay, somebody want to
Sounds
make,
good, thanks.
okay, somebody want to make a second on that?
Second.
10 seconds.
All right, great. All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Yeah. Anyone opposed? Okay, motion passes unanimously. Good job, team. And then we'll just work together via email to get all the justification and wording down from post plan. Okay? Maybe, hey,
Can I just say, I'd like to appreciate everybody's patience. I know I kind of slowed this process down at the last meeting, but I really appreciate how everybody kind of came together. And I think we ended up getting some really good information and are going to be able to make a solid recommendation. And hopefully put enough oomph behind it that we're going to get something positive out of this.
yeah, I hope so too. I really hope that open space uses that first page. I mean, that sums it up so much better than page 90 and 91, my own opinion, but it's up to them. So, all
But
right,
we can
so
share with them.
yeah,
what we
definitely,
found.
definitely. So Skylar, would we be violating open space meetings if we just collaborate on the justifications for the post plan? I don't think that we're having a meeting on anything. We're just clarifying the reasons for why we're making this motion.
You talking sunshine?
Yeah.
I think if a few members of each board were to get together in a sort of subcommittee, I think we'd be okay. And maybe it's not staff. So yeah, let me think about that a little bit and get back to you.
Yeah, okay. And meanwhile, Rebecca, if you want to just send out those pages to Chris, and I don't know, Jan, Tim, and I. Does anybody else want to be included in that? Just for FYI.
I'll just send it to Parab. That's fine.
Okay. All right. Good enough. That sounds good.
Danu, can you be at that meeting on the 13th?
Yeah. I'll still be here on the 13th.
Cool.
If not, I was going to ask you, Rebecca.
I can do that. I can go with you too if you want.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that'd be great. I'll get you talked into city council here pretty soon too. Okay, Rebecca?
That ain't never gonna happen.
All right. Okay. So we all voted on that, and now we have the park use policy resolution. Skylar. Skylar needs approval from us before, because he's going, when you're going to council, what, tomorrow on this or next week?
Next week.
Yeah. So hopefully you've got just basic bullet points here so that you can just hit it real quick.
Yeah, I'm just gonna whip through this real quick. We did talk about this back in October, and we spent a lot of time in the nitty-gritty of the events use guide, and we have made some updates to that, and we're actually meeting with some members of Commonweal as well as the chamber tomorrow to go over any final adjustments we want to make to the use guide. But what I kind of want to focus on today was what's actually in the resolution. And this was in your packet, but here's the gist of it. So I'll go through these one at a time, and you can kind of let me know what questions you have once I get through each of them. So The first is to limit the number of events each year at Memorial Park. We consider large events of attendance of over 500 people. Those are the ones that really damage the park, that we can, you can tell there was a big event once we get past that 500 threshold. So the goal is to limit those events each year to 5. The ones that we already have in place would be Commonweal, the Marathon, Wine Fest, Coffin Races, and the Carnival Parade. Those are the 5 that already occur in Memorial Park, as well as other parts of town that we consider legacy events. So kind of some of the reasoning behind this resolution is to preserve those legacy events while also balancing the needs of the park and not wanting to allow many other applications. Right now, as it stands, if we were to get a new application for another festival or another event in town, we don't have anything in place to say no. So that's kind of one of the reasons to cap the number of events at 5 and put this resolution forward. The second piece here would be no more than 2 events per month at each park, and no more than 1 event in a single day. And we also want to implement a minimum 2-week rest period in between large events. When these large, again, those are 500 or more people. When these large events occur, the park needs, a period of time to recover so that we can get the water back on, perform our regular maintenance, and help the park bounce back a little quicker. Whereas before, we have nothing in place to prevent back-to-back-to-back events. So that's one of the reasonings behind putting this in there. And then we also want to prioritize Manitou Springs residents and organizations when hosting these events and try and keep our special events local. We know Manitou Springs is out there. We get a lot of tourists, and we may get outside entities wanting to do more festivals here, more 5K runs or whatever. So this will at least allow us to preserve that Manitou charm and those specific events that have been longstanding for many years. And then the last thing that is in the resolution is the implementation of the special events guide. That guide is almost 50 pages. It includes a collection of all of our protocols and the specifics of setup and tear down time, food trucks, parking, all event logistics. And that document will probably change over time as we, fine tune our protocols, and those are intended to protect our parks as much as possible. So I'll bring Megan on board. I think poor Megan, she's had to sit through this whole meeting just for this little part at the end, but I'll kind of kick it over to her just to kind of talk at a high level about our use guide, as well as how we plan to implement this policy once the resolution is passed.
Well, thanks, Skylar. Hi, everyone. I'm Megan. I'm the event coordinator for the city. So nice to meet you all virtually. So the special event use guide is a new guide. However, most of the policies in it are not new. It's just all in one place now. So hopefully it makes it a little bit easier for our event producers to go through the process. So a few things that we highlighted in the guide are we really want a production schedule. So events to let us know exactly when the fencing is going up, exactly when they need parking blocked, those sorts of things. A couple of things that have come up over the past 6 or so months when talking to different groups in the city about events and how we as a city can do a better job at hosting public events and make all events more palatable, I guess, for residents, especially and business owners in town. And a few things that came up were just the setup and tear down schedule, and making sure that if an event is a one-day event, that there isn't fencing, in the park for more than that, so that the public has more access. And so we're really focusing on that with our event producers, making sure that they're getting their things in and out as quickly as possible. Then the other component is food trucks. there's an understanding that we now have with our special event use guide in place that Manitou businesses must be asked first when an event needs to serve food or would like to serve food at their event. A lot of businesses in town choose not to serve food at events just because there's some licensing needs that can be cost prohibitive. But I do want that to be known to everyone throughout this process, that we've really looked at how do we ensure that events are really positively impacting our businesses first. So that is that. And then Skylar, I don't know if you want to go to the next slide. And so here's a very high level overview of our event schedule for this year. So Skylar already touched base on it, but this is just sort of a good way to see, like, okay, really, how many events do we have per year? What does that look like? And so you can see that here. These are events with over 500 people. So we do have some smaller, more resident focused events that go on as well, like the summer concert series, library lawn concert series, and that sort of thing. These are the big ones. And so with that, if you have any questions, you can go ahead and feel free to ask us.
I do have a question about security. So in light of what we were talking about earlier, and I don't know if you were here for this, Megan, but we were talking about the open carry policy. Like there's a ordinance that says people cannot like open carry a weapon in our parks. Does that have any effect on, like, I know that some events need to have security guards, and like, so what if they're armed? Does it apply to them, or are they typically armed, or is that going to cause an issue for events? Or like, I just want to kind of bring that to light.
Yeah, no, that's great. I was not on for that discussion, so thank you. I did not know about that. Typically, an event that serves alcohol is where we require them to have outside security, so the hired security. I don't believe are armed, but I will look into it because that is a very good point. They are mostly just sort of making sure everything's okay, and then I think they call the police if they really need help that would require them to be armed, I think. And then events, like the very large events, we always have Manitou police officers at. So all the street closures events, we have them there anyways. And those events don't have the private security hired. So, but thank you, Christina. I will make a note to look into that because that would definitely affect us.
Any other questions about the resolution? Are we on the right track? Is this, good for the city? What do you think?
I
love everything about it.
Saying I'm grateful that you're doing it and having it as a formal resolution. I think that'll make things more clean and clear because I know there have been some violations before. So thank you.
I had some that asked too. Chris, you were asking about the rent-a-cops having guns. Now, I don't believe I've ever seen them carry guns, but how would that work with our policy in the parks with open carry firearms that we talked about earlier, that Cheyenne brought up? I mean, if we can't have open carry firearms in the park, then the security people, how would that work? They wouldn't be able to have guns in the park, okay?
Yeah, Daniel, I'll look into it. And once I get an answer on whether or not they typically carry, or if that's even necessary, like we could probably just have them come and not make sure that they know they can't be armed when they're here. But I'll look into it and I'll get you that answer.
Yeah, I don't recall seeing them being armed, but I also have seen police officers there also every now and then on the big events.
Yep.
Yeah.
We're meeting with the chamber and Commonweal tomorrow, so maybe we'll add that as part of our discussion. Just we bounce a lot of ideas off them since they do so many of the events in town, and it's important to have that good relationship with what we're trying to do as a city and as well as the outside promoter. So yeah, we'll add that to our discussion tomorrow.
Okay, very good. All right, any other questions for Megan or Skylar? Okay, let's make a motion to approve the park use policy resolution.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Okay, all righty. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Was that Jan and Tim? Or Rebecca and Tim?
Rebecca and Tim.
Okay, thanks.
Hey,
Okay.
thank you.
Anybody opposed? Okay, motion passes unanimously. Okay, other business. We're getting there, you guys. At our last meeting, we had like little glitches with Zoom, and we do have our little glitches with Zoom, but I told Colin and Danielle I would put it on our agenda to revisit again. Does anybody have feelings about continuing to meet on Zoom? Or
I
would-
do. I do as a new
Yes.
member.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah,
I
no, go
do.
ahead, Danielle. Yeah.
Yeah, I think as a new member, I would really advocate for meeting in person. It's been wonderful to collaborate with all of you online, but I think there is something to be said for getting together and the collaboration and seriousness of the work that we're doing, the intention of the work that we are doing. So I would like to move that we meet in person, or at least offer a hybrid option, for people that can't make it, or for whatever reason choose not to. But I certainly would like the option.
Okay, thank you,
agree.
Danielle.
Yeah, I agree
and-
with Danielle. I'd rather meet in person. I don't think there's any reason not to meet in person now. And I think the meetings probably will be more efficient and will go a little quicker in person. I think those things tend to happen. So yes, Danielle, you have my full second for that.
Okay, Rebecca.
I might
go
not
ahead.
agree with everything you just said there, but
Right.
meeting in person would be good. I don't know about the length.
Well, that
Rebecca,
depends.
you,
And
you
if
wanted-
Skylar brings the surf and turf every meeting, then we have a whole eating portion that takes place as well. So.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that as a member who has been on for several years and yet not conducted a single meeting in person, I would be great to be in person.
All right, so
I miss
Go ahead.
getting together, so I would say yes, even though I'm just an alternate these days.
all righty. So we have Danielle, we have Jan, we have Rebecca, we have Tim, we have Colin, and I don't know, Chris, you want to weigh in on that?
I'm cool with in person. That sounds good, but I do like the option to zoom in. I also like the recordings for taking minutes.
Yeah, well, we definitely would have to continue that, right, Skylar?
Wouldn't have
Yeah,
to
and then-
continue recording?
Yes, yes.
Um,
We could arrange.
Yeah, there's if we do it at Memorial Hall, there's an option to do a hybrid meeting, and I believe that would be recorded. And we also have the option to live stream it that gets uploaded to our YouTube page. So yeah, we would have all that available.
Huh. I don't know if I want everybody to see me on YouTube. Well, it sounds like the majority of you guys would like to meet in person. So myself, it's easier for me to do Zoom because I can just stay at home. But that's probably because I've done 11 years of having to go every Monday to in live person meetings. So, and I know Skylar, if you want, why don't you weigh in, Skylar? Because I think the hybrid option is nice too. That makes it easier for Tim also, if Tim has to be out of town.
Yeah, it's almost it depends on what's on the agenda, because a lot of times it's really nice to have the shared screen with the Zoom, especially when we bring in consultants, which we're going to be doing more of in the next couple of months with the pool and Soda Springs. So there is a convenience about Zoom, but I do think maybe there's a middle ground here. Maybe we, look at the agenda and, this month should probably be Zoom. This month, it could be more of an in-person. And I don't know, just some of my thoughts. I like Zoom, but it's just
Tyler,
easy.
can I ask real quickly?
Yeah.
Is there a reason we couldn't meet with Zoom and in-person hybrid every meeting? Because I know professionally I do that quite often.
Yeah,
I don't know that.
yeah, I know they do that quite a bit with city council. There's just been some hiccups with it. It hasn't gone super smooth yet. Someone always seems to have technical issues. So it's still, I don't know, a work in progress with the hybrid, but not impossible.
Are you guys saying like people, like, for example, we all went to City Hall, but like we would bring our laptops and then you would like look at your laptop while you're meeting in person?
No, someone would be on the big screen projected on the wall. That whoever's on Zoom would be on that screen, and then everyone else would be gathered around the room. So it's just it hasn't gone smooth every time. There's always been someone, the audio doesn't work or whatever, and whoever isn't there often is trying to get everyone's attention to talk, and it doesn't. I don't know. From what I've seen, it hasn't gone all that smooth, but we can definitely try it and see how it goes.
Can I make a plea for trying it once or twice and seeing how it goes for us? Just allowing somebody to remain in their home and then bring us all in. And I think it really would beg some real sincerity from the newbies.
Well, and as someone who every day teaches hybrid, you always have issues, right? But we have issues with Danu right now with being connected issues. So I think we can just make it work. Right?
Sure.
Okay, Dave, do you have opinion? Dave Crawford?
Yeah, from the guy that's going to the meeting in South Dakota, this works for me.
Okay.
But yeah, I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
'cause
hybrid,
Tim,
I mean,
know you-
we're not losing anything. I think it would be a net gain, and all of the technological difficulties are all achievable, issues. I'm up for hybrid, and at least providing that option, and hopefully we'll have a couple of opportunities to all get together. We'll get it over with, and we might run back to Zoom. Who knows? No, I'm more optimistic than that.
Well, but it's options, I like options. So, at our next meeting, we have Robin coming down. Oh, that's the other thing. Maybe next month, maybe we do Zoom, because that'll be a lot easier for Robin to do Zoom instead of having to come down from Denver. And also with the pool consultant, right, Skylar?
Yeah, we got both of those up next month, and they're both out of Denver.
Yeah.
So just real quickly, sorry, I know I'm trying to hammer that nail, but if there were a few of us that wanted to get together, could we do that? Could we do that at City Hall and then, rope everybody in? I mean, can we? I guess I don't understand why if we're in our own individual homes, we couldn't gather and then loop everybody else in. Can we give it a try?
Well, we have to reserve Memorial Hall too, so we
Okay.
could do that if you guys wanted to. I mean,
How
we could try
difficult
it.
is that to reserve Memorial Hall? I mean, because we used to do it, right?
Yeah, let
Well-
me, can I research the hybrid option and see what it would entail?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't understand how to run that, but I know there's people at the city who do, and they do it with city council. So let me see how intense that is to get that set up. And then maybe that'll help us. We can try it. in May and see how it goes.
So it's,
But I do know there will be a need in May to have consultants Zoom in regardless.
So maybe we have like try in person in June, because June is going to be a little bit lighter, right? For our agenda,
Yes, it should be.
hopefully. Go
Skylar,
ahead.
I was just gonna say it's really easy. You keep the same Zoom link and then someone logs in with the city, like you have yours, you log in, they log in, and it's it's not complicated. You push a button and we're all in, right? You just need one particular laptop or computer so they can
Yeah.
see you and we can see them.
Uh, uh, how about how about Skylar, you check it out with the city staff, because I know that they have had glitches with that. And how about for May, we'll just do one more Zoom, and then for June, we'll meet in person, okay? How does that sound to everybody?
Yeah, I would just, can we just explore it for May? Can we just see, like, can we
Well,
just?
the only
you know-
reason why I'm putting it off, Danielle, for May is because we have these consultants coming, and they're from Denver, and it'd be better if we, it'd be, to me, it might seem more complicated to bring them on board if they're on remote. I don't know.
No,
Rebecca,
I
don't
get
know.
it. I bring in people from Las Vegas and Montana on calls often. So I don't know, just, it is, to Rebecca's point, it is pretty simple. And if we could even just give it a test run, I sure would appreciate the opportunity to do so sooner than later.
Well, you know what we could do is just really what we need. Skylar, can you check out if we can get the hall reserved? And if so, awesome. Some of us can bring our laptops and we can meet in person and then Zoom in just like we do, except we're not in our own homes.
Sounds good. Let me see what I can find out.
Thank you.
Okay. So we'll just wait to hear back from you then? Yeah, is that how we're gonna leave this then? Skylar's gonna find out, or how are we leaving this, you guys?
So regardless, there will be a Zoom option in May because we will have
Okay.
consultants. I'm going to see if the hybrid will work and also if Memorial Hall is available during our normal time slot in May.
Okay,
Awesome.
okay. Okay, very good. Anything else, you guys? Okay.
And
thank you for-
I can say that if Memorial Hall is not available, the Mac, we can get the Mac. Me. Skylar.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm thinking about that. Because our meetings are supposed to be public meetings.
So Daniel,
I
when you
don't
say
know.
public meetings, if we've been having these meetings, via Zoom, what defines public? Like if they're being
Well,
recorded,
if people, right, but I mean, anybody can come on to our meetings. But if we're starting to meet in person, then most people kind of know to go to Memorial Hall for.
well, is there a
for
way that we can
meetings,
put
for
that
city
up on?
meetings.
Is there a way that we can put that up? In the same way that we do our agenda and just let them know, what we're doing, just be transparent about our fluctuation.
Yeah, I guess we could do that.
Just something to consider.
Yeah, well, why don't you see if Memorial Hall is available? It probably would be, but just check with, I don't know who's in charge of scheduling Memorial Hall right now, so,
Megan, I'll take care of it.
okay, all right. Does that sound good to you guys? And then if not, then we can go to Plan B or Plan C. Yeah, because I gotta think we're gonna have to run this by Denise too. Denise Howell, for some odd reason. I don't know, maybe not.
I'll
So,
take care of it.
I mean,
Denise.
if we want to meet at the match. Yep, thank you, Skylar.
I'm on it.
All right, thank you, everybody. Sorry for
meeting.
such a long meeting, but yeah, there's a lot to go. All right, thanks a lot. Good
Good night,
night.
guys.
Good night.
Hey, guys.